Archer, Iowa State, NFL Falcons, also does Falcons radio, and Compass Radio did the Alabama-Georgia game. We'll get to all of that. And he joins Craig Smoke, Paul Catalina, David Smoke on 365 Sports. Great to hear from you, Dave. Glad that you're doing really, really well. Well, you did Alabama-Georgia. We talked about that, but let's start with your Cyclones.
Okay.
Methodical, efficient. Sometimes, like the game with Houston, they were playing with their food for a little bit, but Houston wasn't going to score on them. But your thoughts about Becht and Matt Campbell, and here we are. You look up, and they're in the top 20.
Yeah, the bread's buttered for Iowa State and has been, Smokey. And good to be with you, man. Really
You
good
too.
to hear your voice, stuff like that. It's been a few months since we've had a chance to visit, so great to hear your voice. But good to be on with you guys. Really excited about what's going on with Matt Campbell and his crew. Certainly, the bread's buttered on the defensive side of the football. John Haycock and what they do, that kind of sets the tone for what Iowa State's going to be. They want to be physical, and they want to be disciplined, and they want to tackle and those kind of things. And all those things have come to life as far as that side of the football. And then on the other side, Smokey, you know as well as I do, it's a young crew with a young quarterback. They've got a young running back in Abu Sama. The transfer has done a nice job of fitting in with Sama there. And then they got a couple of receivers. And Jalen Knoll is an older guy, and Jaden Higgins is an older guy that can go get the football. Benjamin Brahmer, who I think is arguably one of the best tight ends in the country. I think he's a big-time player that's going to play at the next level. And so they've got both sides of the ball playing, as you said, efficient football. You'd like to see them be a little bit more explosive on the offensive side of the ball, but it kind of fits who they are, being taking care of the football, not turning it over, and then making it really hard for you to get the ball in the end zone. And that's what they've been here in the first 5 games.
Dave, is this like the most Matt Campbell team that he's ever Matt Campbelled when it's efficient? Like, it's just efficient on both sides. There's nothing particularly spectacular. It's efficient.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's fair to say. I think that, when you think about Matt and the way he talks to his players, the way he talks to the media, he talks about, doing things the right way. And that starts when they're in their off season in what they do to get themselves ready to play, the commitment to the program, and then what they're doing with their weightlifting and their strength and conditioning programs. And then what they do from an efficiency standpoint in practice, working on the tackling, making sure, they're leveraging the tackler. They got an outside guy. They got an inside guy, got a guy over the top, when it comes to that. And then making sure they're not penalized a significant amount on the offensive side of the football. Don't hurt yourselves. You're going to go station to station offensively. Now, they've done some things that have been explosive, certainly getting back into that Iowa game in week 2 where they made the explosive plays. Jalen Knoll gets in behind the Hawkeyes in the passing game, and Rocco finds him. They needed some of those kind of themselves back in the game. So they do have some potential explosiveness. We saw a little bit of it in the K-State game last year at the end of the season where Abu Sama went off in the run game, and they were able to make some explosive plays. I think they'd like to see more of that. That would make life a lot easier, certainly on their defensive side of the football, and make life a lot easier as far as it's concerned. But, yeah, I think that's fair to say. There's no question that they've been kind of played the script as far as Iowa State is concerned.
So this is the second, full year of Rocco Becht. What do you see from him in these first handful of games that is a growth or just something noticeable from, seeing him quite a bit last year?
Well, I just think that his growth has come in understanding what teams are trying to do to him. He certainly understands the 2 guys that he throws the football to, and I think, again, the Benjamin Brahmer element, that him blossoming into a legitimate weapon for Becht. I think he understands, and that's something from a quarterback perspective, is what are guys doing for you? What can guys provide for you? And sometimes there's trial and error there. You're going to put a guy up to bat on a certain play. That might not be his strength, whereas other guys, you can put a guy up to bat in a 50-50 situation. Jaden Higgins has kind of turned into that guy. Jalen Knoll is more of that shake guy, the guy that you're going to get an option routes and get him the football in that regard. So I think that him learning his personnel has been maybe his biggest growth. taking care of the football is something that always has to be something that's in the toolbox of a quarterback. And I think young quarterbacks have to learn, what can I get away with? He's got a big arm, so what windows do I squeeze it into? I also have to play to the strengths of what I've got defensively. Do I put my defense in bad situations? Do I provide short field opportunities for the opposition? Those are things that Rocco, I think, has learned as he's moved through. He made some of those mistakes early on in 2023, and it cost him some games. They got off to a slow start in 23. That began to change, and he began to blossom as a player that understood the grand scheme of things, the 30,000-foot level look at what's going on in the game. I think those are the things that he's improved in the most.
Dave, I got a question for you. And by the way, somebody in the chat brought up they loved you when you were playing in Canada.
It was fun. I mean, boy, we had a lot of fun. I appreciate that. That's very kind of whoever sent that in. I enjoyed playing up there. And I said in a number of interviews, Smokey, that I think that if you could get rid of the tradition, which you can't, and we don't want to, we don't want to get rid of the tradition of the game. The way the game is played in Canada, I think, fits the fans' set of criteria. Big plays, scoring, the ball's in the air a great deal. You mix in the run game. There's a lot of plays made in special teams up there. So, and they treat the game up there like the college game in the United States. Canada really, they paint the faces. There's banners waving. They love their game in Canada, and I had a lot of fun playing up there.
Sir blah, 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 by the way, on the chat room is the one that
not surprised
brought that up. With the way the Big 12, BYU is better than anyone thought, maybe other than the people inside the locker room and the coaching staff. We've seen Tech win games early because they had struggled doing that, and then they would make a run late. KU is like a mess. Kansas State with a bounce back. Oklahoma State, who are they? Utah lost to Arizona. You know where I'm going with this. There are teams that have kind of risen to the top, and yet there's, as usual, chaos in a lot of different ways. Is this just going to be the way it's always been in the Big 12 occasionally, other than Oklahoma when they used to dominate?
Well, I don't think there's any question about that, Smokey. I think that everybody is still in the mix. I mean, you can go all the way down the list. I know Baylor is going to head to Iowa State on Saturday, or certainly Friday, and play Saturday night. Mm-hmm. I think that they're still searching for some certain things, identities, and things that are going on both sides of the football. But at 2-3, and I know they're 0-2 in conference play. But as soon as you discount the Bears, then they're going to jump up and bite you. Oklahoma State, we know there's talent on that football team. They haven't played very well on the defensive side of the football. They haven't tackled well. They've given plays up over the top. Certainly, they were destroyed in Manhattan this last weekend, but you could see them bounce back. I mean, think about their comeback against Arkansas to win that football game in a non-conference game. TCU has shown some life. I think their quarterback is a gunslinger. I think that Hoover is a guy that can light you up. So, yeah, I mean, Utah is playing without their quarterback. We don't know if he's ever going to get back. Is Cam Rising done? We have no idea. So there's so much uncertainty, and then all of a sudden you look up and everybody kind of left Colorado for dead because of the way the thing started and the way they got destroyed by Nebraska. You look up and they go on and win a game on the road against UCF, in a game that you didn't feel like maybe they had a chance to win. So, yeah, I think it's wide open. I love the development of Baron Morton and what's going on in Lubbock with him. We felt like that he had some of those innate abilities to be one of those guys that's kind of special at the quarterback position. He's certainly done that. BYU much better on the defensive side of the football this year than they were a year ago. The development of Ratzlaff at quarterback, man, it's wide open, Smokey. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been fun. I did not expect. It's not Colorado winning, although that was a surprise. Just they dominated that game, and they looked like they had other levels of what they could do. Obviously, Arizona popped up with Fifita. You kind of forget about what he can do. It's just, by the way, Dave Archer played with the Falcons, played with other teams in the NFL. You went undrafted out of Iowa State. You waited a year, marinated, and then you played like 28 or some games the next 2 years. They don't do that as much anymore. Caleb Williams playing right away. Jaden Daniels playing right away. Rookie quarterbacks play right away. What was it like to be able to just watch the game and then have a chance to soak it in that first year?
Yeah, I had a chance to sit behind one of the really good veteran players in Steve Bartkowski. He was the number 1 overall pick in 1975 from out of California, went to the Atlanta Falcons, and he had to play right away. And he went through, and I had a chance to sit and visit with him and some of the things that he went through as a franchise guy, as a guy that everybody in the city was looking to kind of rescue a team that really hadn't had any success at all in Atlanta. And he gradually worked into the position, had to make some mistakes and all those kind of things. Now, the opportunity for me to sit and watch that was beneficial. And I don't know that there's a perfect answer to whether you throw a guy in like a Matt Ryan who came in here and hit the ground running. His first pass as an Atlanta Falcon went for a 62-yard touchdown, or whether you get the guys that really floundered like a Joey Harrington or even to a certain extent Marcus Mariota, guys that were celebrated players coming out of Oregon and just never really got it. This never really happened for him. You look at what's going on with Jaden Daniels, he's hit the ground running. But Caleb Williams has had some struggles, and they got their first win this weekend. So, Smokey, there's no perfect answer. You try to handle them with kid gloves. You try not to put too much on their plate. You hope that there's guys around them that can make plays. And I don't think it's any different than maybe young players that are playing early on in the college ranks. I mean, you look at what's going on at Oklahoma and the quarterback situation there. That was supposed to be the prodigal son, that was coming in as far as a young quarterback. He's really struggled in Jackson Arnold. So you wonder what the perfect recipe is, and I don't think anybody's got that nailed down.
Dave, you called that crazy game the other night. Then you got to turn around and call a Falcons game. What was that 48 hours like?
Well, the scene, certainly the theater, you guys have been to these games and you've seen them. The theater at Bryant-Denny Stadium was off the charts. There's great cathedrals of college football that we all have had opportunities to go see, whether it's in College Station or whether it's in Austin, Texas, or whether it's there in Waco at Baylor, or whether it's at Iowa State and Ames. I mean, these places where these people wait all week long to go and watch their team play, it's just great theater. And then to have an opponent like that come in, like Georgia comes in, won back-to-back national championships in 21 and 22. So just all the pomp and circumstance that centers around that, the pageantry and color of college football. And then you put two football teams on the field that, frankly, I think both of them will be in the playoff, providing Georgia doesn't stumble a couple of times. They've got murderer's row when it comes to their schedule. But I think these two teams are two of the best in the country. And then all of a sudden you get a guy surface in Jalen Milroe who's better than anybody else on the field. Guys, he played at a level and a speed physically that was different than everybody else. And you guys both know that those two teams are littered with NFL players. He was better than anybody else on the field in the game. And then mentally he was faster than anybody else too. It was a sight to see. And then for Kirby Smart's team to be down the way they were and really being run over, to rally like they did, to come out and make some of the adjustments they did, and for Carson Beck to kind of pick himself up by his own bootstraps and get after it, and guys make plays. It was a heavyweight fight. Georgia had a couple standing 8 counts in the first half. It looked like they may go down. They may be out. And then they were able to rally in the middle rounds, if you want to call it a heavyweight fight, and really put Alabama in a position where they got a couple of standing 8 counts. And then the kid wide receiver to make the play at the end the way he did. Just a phenomenal game. I was just happy to be there, let alone be calling the game.
I can't even imagine just the being a part of that. And then when Alabama struck back, did you notice that? And I know you got to go, and we've got a guest coming up again around the corner, that when Alabama they started to slip, when they started to lose the momentum, it was as if Georgia said, okay, if you're going to throw it, but we're not going to let you, Milroe, turn the corner for 4 yards or 8 yards anytime you want it. It seemed like they just cut that off.
That was the decision they'd made at halftime, Smokey. Good eye on your part. Milroe destroyed them in the first half, and they could not set the edge in the run game, and Milroe was killing them to the perimeter. So they said, you know what? We're going to play coverage. We're going to keep eyes on Milroe. We're not going to let him run the football, and he's going to have to beat us throwing the ball. And you know what? That's what he did. He threw it to that 17-year-old kid, Ryan Williams. He makes a hell of a play on the ball. There's no question about it. The coverage is not bad by the Georgia defender, but the kid was just better. And then once he caught it, we saw the great speed and what he's potentially going to be. He's already being talked about in the annals of great college or great Alabama receivers in the likes of Julio Jones and Jerry Jeudy and Devontae Smith. It's amazing that how good this kid is. Should be still in high school. It's unbelievable.
Yep, absolutely. Dave Archer.
I have one quick question. Dave, I saw on your Twitter feed today that you were friends with the recently deceased and late John Ashton, who's an actor, Beverly Hills Cop, Midnight Run, which is like an amazingly good movie that I don't think enough people now have seen. But I just thought that was an interesting, nice connection that you are friends with Sergeant Taggart.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to meet John many years ago. Stayed at his house a number of times. We played a number of rounds of golf together, and just a quality human being. I mentioned in the tweet, one of the great laughs I've ever heard. I think you've probably heard it on some of his movies. But yeah, do yourself a favor if you don't know John Ashton, go watch the movie Midnight Run. He plays opposite Robert De Niro. He obviously plays opposite Eddie Murphy in the Beverly Hills Cop series. But just a quality human being, and lost him. 81 years old, just a good man, and it hurts me to even think about it.
Well, Dave, thanks for sharing that, and Paul for bringing it up. It's great to see you. Member of the Iowa State Athletics Hall of Fame, Iowa State quarterback, and now, again, part of the Falcons broadcast, Compass Radio Network, and just a damn good dude. Dave, thank you very much. It's great to hear your voice, too. We'll talk to you soon.
Pleasure to be on with you guys. You guys keep knocking it out of the park. Great to be with you.
Dave Archer with us, Compass Radio and Falcons broadcast, and played with the Falcons and a lot of teams in the NFL. Pretty good story. A JUCO quarterback, undrafted out of college, and ended up starting for a couple of years his second and third year in the league.